Thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the Hangout, Ambode back restructuring as he unveils Awolowo statue in Lagos. Dangote says kidnappers are scaring investors away from Nigeria. PDP tells Fayose to bury his presidential ambition. And later on the program, Southeast governors to rehabilitate IPOB members. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Tunde Abaton, and Adekunle Yusuf. So if you're ready, let us do this now. Thank you for joining us again. Now, on Monday, the governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, unveiled a 20-foot statue of the first premier of the defunct Western region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The statue came at a time when the political and economic philosophy of the late sage had become a national anthem in the country. Nigerians across ethnic divides are asking for devolution of power through federalism. For years, this has been Lagos State's most ambitious desire. Governor Ambode did not mince words to chorus his support for restructuring. He said the state remains optimistic that the part of the manifesto of the All Progressive Congress is to address restructuring of the country. Thus, it takes rocket science to restructure Nigeria. Babajide, we are moving there, and gradually, people that were hitherto silent on this clamor and agitation, they've joined the train, and that is saying something. The only person I've not heard from President Muhammadu Buhari himself. I've not heard from Vice President Oshibajo. Yes, he has said it. Okay, he even said it when he called into our program, yes, that Nigeria needs to be restructured. But I think Nigerians, we need President Buhari to be committed and be categorical about him keying into this restructuring clamor. Yes,
we are waiting. One thing is certain. Once the people want something, a true leader must listen to them. And I was happy when I heard the Lagos governor say that the party, APC, part of his manifesto is to make restructuring of Nigeria happen. You know, meaning that it campaigned to Nigerians, promising to restructure the country. The party campaigned to Nigerians, promising restructuring. So there's no ambiguity about it anymore. Whether it's devolution of power that you're talking about, whether it's bicameral, unicameral legislature that we are seeing governors from the north-west talk about, it is still restructuring that the central team. It's restructuring that's the central team. There is no convergence, there is no unanimity of opinion over what exactly the people want. There are those who do not want unicameral legislature, there are those who want it. There are those who do not want state police, there are those who want it. There are those who think that there's nothing wrong about the revenue allocation formula. But there are many people who think that a lot is wrong, just like the Kebbi State delegates. You know what they prefer? That it should be 40, 40, 20. You know, so Nigerians are talking, and it suggests that Nigerians all over the country, Nigerians generally think that we should tinker with the present arrangement. We should tinker with the present arrangement. So the president needs to give the people what they want. What is required at this stage is for bright Nigerians to be put together. But at the end of the day, they will come up with a summation of what the Nigerian people want. I'm really not surprised that the governor of Lagos State is talking about restructuring. If there's a state where the evidence of cheating is there for all to see, it has to be Lagos State. Because, you know, when Adeosun was talking about VAT proceeds and all that, and he was saying that Lagos State accounts for 55% of VAT revenue in our country. It showed clearly to everyone the place of Lagos in Nigeria. To those who oppose the initiative of Senator Oluremi Tinubu that Lagos should be given
a special
status. I want to talk about some statistics as they affect Lagos. All the 214 people who paid up to 20 million each as tax in the year 2016 were from Lagos. Out of 914 people, they are residents in Lagos doing their business here. Out of 914 people who paid between 10 million and 20 million, only 2 are residents outside of Lagos.
So we don't pay tax at all in this country.
The economy, no, we are talking about even the quantum of tax. To tell you, you see, if they pay that much, that should tell you that this is where business gets done. I'm not done. 55% of the entire manufacturing that takes place in Nigeria happens in Ikeja alone.
Eh?
Yes.
And that's
Ikeja is just a small part of Lagos, a very small part of Lagos. Yet, 55% of manufacturing that takes place in Nigeria happens in Ikeja. So whoever says that Lagos should not be accorded a special status, you know, is looking more and more like an enemy of our country. So these are issues that need to be addressed. VAT proceeds and the sharing of VAT proceeds is part of what should be addressed as we continue to look at our country and look at how we can make everyone feel that he should actually belong here.
Adekunle Yusuf, when you look at the seeming imbalance, and you begin to wonder that what have we been doing since all these days? When you start hearing this statistic, when you start hearing this this kind of analysis,
I think the problem was bequeathed to us by the military, because if you trace it back, if you look at the last constitution that were done by Nigerians, you know, that were negotiated by the Nigerians, that was the one that guided the 1959, you know, general election. All other ones were just, you know, arrangement by the military. And when you look at it critically, it tilted Nigeria in favor of a certain section of the country at the expense of another section of the country. When you look at agitations over the years, you normally see that a section of the country normally feels cheated, that no, this is this, this is not. You see, my happiness is that I think Lagos is very, very lucky in terms of having good, brilliant, you know, leaders. Look at the way Achuaju framed this restructuring debate, because many people don't want to hear that word. It's like, I know, you know, a hot potato issue now. People don't want to talk about it from certain sections of the country. But in some sections of the country, it's the main issue. And now, look at what Ambode is saying. I'm so happy he even quoted a section of the party's, you know, manifesto that says that the party shall cause, you know, all that is necessary to make sure Nigeria is achieve true federalism and gives everybody a true federal sense. And when you are talking about true federalism, it means that 68 items on the exclusive list in Nigeria, because that is the issue. 68 items on exclusive legislative list in Nigeria. That is what the federal government alone does, and part of it is security. And any society, the most important element for development to take place is security. So federal government controls that. Then there is a huge imbalance, you know, lopsidedness in revenue, you know, allocation formula. The way they share the revenue is what is important to those who are in charge. So there are a lot of things that should happen in Nigeria. When you talk about state police, when you talk about revenue formula, we are talking about devolution of power, we are talking about restructuring, we are talking about, you know, giving Nigerians a sense of belonging, that Nigeria does not belong to one section of the country at the expense of another section.
Tunde Abaton, your thoughts on this?
Well, I think basically there's no way we can discuss about restructuring in Nigeria without looking at the fundamentals of that thing. I think people who are claiming ignorance or who are resisting restructuring, when you look at them, you will find that the argument is rooted in the taking Nigeria back to the North-South dichotomy. There would not have been this issue if late General Aguiyi did not take Nigeria to unitary system. Because by promulgating that Decree 34, it nullified the 1954 Constitutional Conference that gave Nigeria a republican status, on which plank the Western region, the Northern region, the Midwestern region, and Eastern region were able to develop at their own pace without necessarily breathing on the other. Then, which means, in essence, when you look at the trend of the arguments for or against restructuring, there are two categories of people. Number one, the North-South dichotomy of the country. 70% of people who are against this are probably not from the southern part of Nigeria. And the remaining 30% are those people who are in power in Nigeria, who are joining the lopsidedness and the inequity and the injustice that this unitary system. Look at the National Assembly, for instance. There is no way you can have a proper federation, that you can have the people in the National Assembly today taking more than they can have to satisfy their personal ego. And that is why it is becoming increasingly difficult for Nigerians to accept the fact that the president said we should entrust the restructuring of this country to members of the National Assembly.
Juliet, quickly before we go on this break, the subject matter now, Akinwumi Ambode, erecting a 20-foot statue of Awolowo. What does that bring to mind?
Yeah, according to Ambode, Awo kind of typified the benchmark for progressive leadership. He described Awo as an inspiration, and Awo made the Southwest a champion. Of course, Lagos is an integral part of the Southwest. Based on his achievements, he made the Southwest a champion, a beacon of hope to other parts of the country. Your state, for example, is always described as the pace setter, because so many firsts were recorded in your state, in Ibadan, under his leadership. The stadium, the first TV station in Nigeria, not in Africa, because we have discovered that the first TV station in Africa was actually in Morocco, in Tunisia. So, but so many firsts were recorded under Awolowo, and that pace, capacity for setting the pace has already been ingrained in a raft of leaders, especially from Lagos State, whom we've always seen as progressive leaders with vision and forward-looking leaders. So I can remember they said, look, when you look at that statue, it's not supposed to be like a tourist attraction. It's supposed to draw attention to the need to live our lives for the other people, for our people. That the need to become heroes ourselves, because when heroes are treated as heroes, it will serve as an inspiration for other people to give themselves immortality by working for the people. When you work for the people and you die serving the people are not likely to forget you.
All right, I'll quickly take this breather. When we come back, we'll wrap up on this. It's still Journalist Hangout. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. We're talking about Awolowo and restructuring.
I think when you look at, if you study Awolowo very well, his ideas, his efforts, while in government, all that he did, he's a man that lived all through for the people. He used his life, his everything in service of his people. Of course, the Southwest, forever continue to. But there are regrets that the federal government of Nigeria didn't give such a talented man the opportunity to put the ideas on a national scale and implement his wonderful ideas.
I'm sure you are Abaton, you're a student of Awolowo.
I think I would refer us back to 1986 during the birthday celebration of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. General Babangida wrote a letter, a congratulator to him, and the summation of it is that in the last 40 years of Nigeria, the issue has always been it has always been the main issue in Nigerian politics. It's either you like it or you don't like it. You see, it was one author, Dosban Rampa, he wrote a book, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. I think Chief Awolowo saw Nigeria up to the next 100 years. And it is unfortunate because when you continue to look at the man, when you don't look at the message, the fundamentals of the federalism we are still battling today, was actually perfected by Awolowo in the path towards Nigeria's freedom. Unfortunately, the military came in and distracted us. But the military too, those people who benefited from that unitary system, that the military bequeathed or not, they are the ones that are now resisting taking Nigeria back to federalism. There's nothing like true federalism. I just qualifying it. Federalism is federalism. It means all component parts of a country coming together to submit their power and exercising each power according to their needs. So this true federalism, we are just talking about it. Federalism, it was Awolowo that pioneered it, and he wrote a book on it. And all the Nigerian constitution from 1979, 1989, the one written by Abacha, and the one by everything danced around the virtue, the book written by the Chief Obafemi Awolowo in 1944.
Julie, wrapping up on this now, quickly, when we are talking about, moving Nigeria forward, the kind of government they ran, it was the premier of the Western region before he moved to Abi?
Became
the leader of opposition from 1959, between 1959 and 1962.
Yes. So
and then he served as foreign,
the vice chairman of the Federal Council
and vice chairman.
That kind of structure we ran at that time, some people are canvassing for it in 2017.
You see, remember the day we spoke with the vice president, he said as much as he supported restructuring, that he would not want us to go back to the era of the regions. Yeah, and he even said that day that he was sure even me would not want us to go back to the era of the regions. It is the same, but we had some Yoruba leaders calling for a return to 1963, which is regionalism. Asiwaju Tinubu has made it clear that yes, he wants devolution of power, but that he does not want a return to regionalism. So a good number of Nigerians don't think that returning to that era is the solution, but the devolution of power needs to happen, and that is where I stand to.
Okay, let me quickly take Olorun Toba from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Olorun Toba.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Olorun Toba.
I wanted to even say greeting to all your panelists, especially Mr. Jide.
All right.
My own concern is about no politician in this Nigeria or Africa that we can compare with Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Even the issue of education alone is enough. When you educate people, you give them what to eat. That is why my issue of restructuring, devolution of power, I'm not even supporting that issue, maybe with just 2%. Because, for example, if you give power to these governors, I'm sorry to use most of these governors that we have, how are they going to do what we think it will pay us at the future? Because my question is this.
Thank you, Olorun Toba. I think our time is fast spent, and we're sorry for that. Over the years, many Nigerians have been kidnapped. The high, not exempted, and the eye-popping sums have been paid in ransom. Hardly a day passes without the news that someone, somewhere, had been taken. Now, this has put Nigerians in a perpetual state of high alert. But as the government struggles to contain this ugly trend, Africa's richest entrepreneur, Aliko Dangote, is counting the costs. He says investors are scared and some are already have their investment in Nigeria and are running away. How soon can Nigeria deal with this problem? I think it's like a menace around the country now. And Tunde, let me start from you. How will kidnapping affect intending investors?
Well, to affect investors, because when people are not sure, security is about the first condition that you think before you go into any particular policy to invest. If you are not sure of your investment, you are not going to go there. But then, what will drive your investment? It is the people that will drive your investment. If it is not possible for people to move from one place to the other, policing their investment or ensuring their investment, they will be scared stiff to come to that particular country. That takes us back to the issue of the capacity of the Nigerian police force. There's no way, you see, we were talking about restructuring. There's no way we will not have to take a second look at the capacity of the Nigerian police force to effectively police Nigeria. Because that is, if the Kaduna-Kano highway is about the most porous now for kidnapping, you can also not overlook the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. So there is a need, instead of adopting this fire brigade approach and calling the AIG in Kaduna, calling the man in Kano to come and do, let us make sure that all the component states of Nigeria have adequate number of police. Let us have state police so that we can adequately guarantee security, because security is a core issue in investment. And if investors are not sure, like Dangote said, nobody will invest in an environment. The other time, the IG of police was telling Nigerians that the annual budget of the Nigerian police is not enough to buy stationery. Then, if you are arguing against state police, how come 70% of the equipment being used by Nigerian police today, they are procured by their respective state governments? I know we say I had to buy about 2 APC. Lagos State spends an average of probably 30 billion every year to help the Nigerian police force. Then Kaduna State, the same thing. So why are we shying away from empowering the state to ensure adequate security in their zone and tying up there? If the amount of money voted for the Nigerian police force can only buy stationery, I wonder how we expect the Nigerian police force to perform optimally in an era in contemporary Nigeria where challenge to life and property is becoming increasingly high because of our state of economy.
Adekunle Yusuf, I don't know the nexus between the high rate of unemployment and kidnapping. Because the turnover in kidnapping, the way you see the people, they get the money and everything, and most of our youths now, that is either, if they're not into Yahoo, kidnapping is another option.
You mentioned high rate of unemployment. That's number one factor. Number two, poverty in the country is so widespread now that it's terrible. Number three, corruption. Corruption has just taken over everywhere. Of course, this government is trying its best, but corruption, the level of corruption we have today, I don't know what we can get right. Then the get rich quick syndrome. Our value system has changed.
Collapsed.
Before, if you bring something to the house, you'll be queried, unless maybe your father or mother, paid for that. But today, just anybody, they say, oh, he has arrived. The next thing is you are riding big cars, you are becoming title holders. Before you know, you go into politics and you pay your way, you get the party ticket, and you are honorable or whatever. So a society with this kind of scenario, I don't think it's an easy job, because when you blame put all the problems on the police, how much can the police do? What can they do? They are capacitated.
It's across the country now.
They are capacitated. You have some of these leaders.
Kidnappers.
You have some of these leaders insisting that we don't need state police. That the federal government should continue to this rickety police system.
Not funding it.
Jide, I don't know. This problem is a big problem. The IG said it the last time, that the number of youths that that are in prison facing trial for kidnapping, they are forgotten the figure again, but it's alarming. shows you that across the country now, east, west, north, south, the trend is kidnapping.
Yes, kidnapping has become a major business in our country. And a state like Kogi is fast becoming the kidnap capital of Nigeria. You know, it's an unfortunate thing. Kogi recorded more than 300 cases of kidnapping in 1 year. And we all know that a lot of these cases don't even get reported. You understand? Most of the cases don't get reported. So if you recorded more than 300 cases, you can imagine how many other cases were not reported. I personally, some of my friends who went for a wedding in Ondo State, you know, and they were returning to our village, they were kidnapped. And one of them, a lecturer, eventually died in the hands of these kidnappers. So to move around freely in our country has become extremely dangerous. In Rivers State, for example, I'm sure you must be reading, kidnappers target bus passengers on Rivers highways between Bayelsa and Rivers. It's a regular thing now for them to be kidnapping people on the highway. They were doing it in Kaduna. The police chief flooded the Abuja-Kaduna highway with policemen. He transferred some of the policemen who were working in that area because it was discovered that some of those policemen were actually working for kidnappers. And villagers who were exposing the kidnappers will come back, you know, and say, oh, so you gave information to the police, they will go and waste those people. So it's a big problem in our country now. It seems that because there is pervasive unemployment, more and more people are now taken to crime, especially kidnapping, because if you are successful, you stand the chance of making good money from kidnapping. You know, like the risk to your life, like the risk to your life when compared to armed robbery is not so high.
All right, let me take for this another break. When we come back, we'll discuss further. This is Journalist and Guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So, I think to just end it on kidnapping now, and when we see the responsibility of Nigerian police force, when we see they have to run after kidnappers across the country now, and the kind of money, and most of these cases, you discover that they're not reported because there's always this threats that you attempt to report, we'll kill this person. Can we wrap up on this?
The final solution to this is no more money to the police. It's devolution of let's have state police. Every state will be able to, you know, police its own state, because you will use local people to police the local environment.
I think that's what this Commissioner of Police in Lagos State just did.
Any other thing we are just beating about the bush.
You have to use OPC and co, and
any other solution will just be beating about the bush. Give states the power to understand, to be in charge of the terrain. Security. All right. Governor Ayodele Fayose is dreaming to be Nigeria's next president. Yes. But the People's Democratic Party has asked him to wake up from his slumber. The party says its zoning formula states that the candidates for 2019 presidential election will come from the north. But in less than 24 hours from now, that's tomorrow, Governor Ayodele Fayose will be flagging off his presidential campaign in Abuja. Are Nigerians about to see a Fayose that will run for president, or a Fayose that will run out of the People's Democratic Party? Jide, most of the time I struggle. I find it extremely difficult to understand the politics and the man Ayodele Fayose. I find it extremely difficult because even if you want to contest for the presidency, look at the timing. It should be I think the #1 person to come out in Nigeria now officially declaring for that position.
Maybe he thinks that the first person to declare will win. Maybe that's the way he's thinking.
Then you will also be running afoul of the law.
You never can tell what goes through Ayodele Fayose's mind at any point in time. He's a complex character, and even the best of psychoanalysts will find it difficult to accurately analyze Fauci. He was at the convention where the PDP zoned the presidency to the north. The organ of the party that zoned the presidency to the north is the convention of the party, which, as the Supreme Court affirmed, is the most powerful organ of the party. It's an organ of the party that its decisions are binding on every member of the party. So to be present at that convention and still write a letter to the leader of your party saying that he said, with prejudice to our party's position, but in the overall interest of the party and our country, that he wants to contest. And he's saying those in Aso Rock are one-chance people. So he wants to replace those one-chance people. The thing is, I know that Fauci's wife has psychic qualities. She's able to predict what will happen. So I don't know
Maybe the woman has told.
I don't know. You see, politicians are naturally optimistic people.
Yep.
That is why you see a politician contest for one position like 5 times. He continues to rack up losses, but you can't tell him not to contest.
Like it's as if you are telling Atiku not to contest.
No, you can't tell Atiku is a perennial contestant. You can't tell him not to contest. He's a perennial contestant and a perennial litigant. Once he contests and loses, he goes to court. So he's a perennial contestant and a perennial litigant. From what arises on the election, he finds a reason to go to court. Now, Fauci thinks that he's bigger than he sees himself in the mirror. So he thinks that
he has overestimated
he thinks that because he's been able to club them politically in Ekiti and thoroughly dominate the APC in Ekiti, then the bigger Nigerian stage is waiting for him to conquer.
And you know, he has been speaking for Biafra lately, the IPOP people, so you would think we have sympathy in the southeast.
He has said that he was not speaking for them. You know? I don't know what his calculations are. When you are talking about the policies of Ekiti, for now there's no one like him. They say we are deceiving ourselves. He's extremely strong. He's on ground.
Oshokomole.
He is on ground. He is strong. Till tomorrow he's strong. But he will be dreaming. He will be dreaming like someone who staggered out of a pub and went straight to bed. If he thinks that the big stage called Nigeria
can be
conquered by him. And don't forget the way he abuses the president, the way he says that he has pictures of the president in a vegetative state, you know, in a very bad state, has also hand him enemies across the north. And you cannot win a presidential election in Nigeria without substantial support from northern Nigeria. It's just not just going to be possible. So I don't know whether at the end of the day his party will be able to convince him. The person who rolled out the response to Fauci is a man who recently resigned as chairman of the governing board of the
Yes.
But Dayo Adeyeye is also eyeing the governorship of the state. And Fauci has gone ahead to pick his deputy. So Adeyeye can't be happy. So you see, even reading that
statement, you see embellishment of beef.
Yes, you see demonstrate bitterness towards the end. You know, that how can somebody of that stature, a leader, go ahead and work against the interests of his party and all that? But I think that Nigerians, Fauci is free to want to punch above his weight. But I know that ultimately Nigerians will put him where he truly belongs.
Adekunle Yusuf, he wants to go. He actually said it in their convention that he will be waiting to receive them in 2019. That he will be waiting to receive his PDP brothers in 2019. That he will be in the villa to.
I think he's a confused human being. He's thoroughly confused because when you look at everything, you just try to deconstruct him. He's a confused mind. Because when you look at the law, this is not the right time to flag off any presidential or gubernatorial aspiration.
According to our next timetable.
That is one. Two, when you look at everything, what do you want to get? But I think what I'm trying to say is there are two things. Possibly the Rabu Rousin Ayofayose is gunning for, maybe he's positioning himself for vice presidential ticket of his party come, next election. That's one. Two, you will see that at the last convention of PDP, the national chairmanship of the party was zoned to the south. And of this, the southwest, has some of the most credible, I believe, as far as that party is concerned, big fishes, gunning for that office. So he's using himself to block such, because most of those that are coming out have become his. They used to be like this before, but now they are sworn enemies. He wants to use, his powers, his everything to block the chances of other, such people.
I don't know. Do you understand this man?
I think
I think there's something that we have to accept. When you look at the character called Ayofayose, the man loves controversy. He lives by controversy. He causes controversy, and he remains relevant by being controversial. When you look at all the parameters, everything else circumstance that this story, there's no way anybody that is right thinking can think of picking up a form from Ekiti State that is just a minuscule of Nigeria, because you have conquered the people of Ekiti State. And
it's not as if you have a base in the southwest.
And you now equate that to ruling the Federal Republic of Nigeria and getting the votes of the southwest people. Ekiti State is not southwest, and it does not take southwest alone to produce the president of Nigeria. You need 19 states from the north and a reasonable number of states from the east.
24,
so going by this kind of analysis, you will all agree with me that the man just loves to seek attention of people. And the money he's using to do this thing does not belong to him. He's using the money of the good people of Ekiti State. He has not paid pensioner for 6 months. He's owing workers for 5 months, and yet he's going to declare his ambition in Abuja. He will send a lot of money.
He always says that his elections are bankrolled by his friends.
So who are his friends? Who are another thing is that
let's not judge him that he's using.
Another thing we have to know is that Ayofayose loves to divert attention of Nigerians. Whenever he's out of news, he tries to do something that will make him perpetually in the news. And by diverting attention, do you know that by next year Ayofayose will be out of office, and he has to do something to escape the news of the law, because he has a lot of cases against him. So I think ordinarily we should not even dignify analyzing Ayofayose's attention with our time.
Okay, I have Patrick. Patrick is calling from Abia State. Thank you for joining us, Patrick.
Yeah, good evening. That's the call back from our school here in Abia State. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
The statement made by Governor Ayofayose is made to me. It looks like a comedian statement for the forthcoming 57th independent anniversary celebration of this country. That statement he made that is vying for presidential, because it's comedian statement. Now, if you look at the issue of what you just said, the first one about the kidnapping, you see, kidnapping, armed robbery, assassination, these are the 3 major things that are taking any business environment, and it cannot bring development. So the only thing that, if we have that opportunity of stopping, just to stop all this issue of unemployment, create employment in different skills, I bet you all these things will stop. Business will continue with me. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. But Babajide, when you look at the People's Democratic Party, is one of the leaders there, and is one of the people that how will I put it? One of the people that are running things in the People's Democratic Party right now. And when you, let's say, he's negotiating, as Adekunle Yusuf has put it, to become the vice president. If you want to become the vice president, at least you have an advantage that maybe you have a base, and looking at the numerical strength, looking at the voting strength of.
You don't need to have a base to become vice president.
Okay.
You don't need to, and I can give examples of people who did not have any base. And they became vice president. The current vice president did not have any base.
By influence, he has a base.
Christians. No, that was the game changer.
By influence, he has a base.
No, but it did not, politically, it did not have any base.
Okay.
As if we want to argue blindly, I didn't have any base. He was in the real sense, he was not a politician. He was the least.
Has never been a politician.
He has never been a politician. It was the least that anyone expected would be chosen. Because we had people like Oshomole interested in
just name for that post, no. Vice president that never
vice presidents are usually picked. You can pick who you like as vice president. It may not have electoral value. Look, Buhari would still have won that election even if he picked someone who has never contested an election in his life. He would still have won that election.
That's a fact.
Because of the people arrayed behind him. So you don't need to have that political base. The truth is, if we are looking at PDP today, the Fayose is one of the most active politicians and is one of the people who have shown that he can win an election. He can win an election, okay. He can deliver a state. He has electoral value. So because he has electoral value, that gives him an edge over some politicians, you know, from the southwest. Because look now, the PDP has been literally overrun in the whole of the southwest, except that state. So that gives him an advantage. But we are talking about his own party. So within his party, he can play big. You understand? He can play big within his own party. So at this stage, remember even Sheriff, some of the people who supported Sheriff, we heard that they supported Sheriff because they were eyeing the vice presidency. Only for them to realize that the man has a bigger ambition.
And the man himself.
Yes,
and the man was one of those who drafted Sheriff.
Put them aside. So the thing is, politics is an interest-driven game. He must have felt, well, it is good for me to do this. And ultimately, he can bargain for a position just as a...
Okay, we quickly take this final break. When we come back, we'll talk more. Stay with us. So, tomorrow, Governor Ayo Fayose will be declaring his presidential.
Hopefully.
So, I've seen the promo, I've seen the jingle.
I just want to
they won't stand in his way.
I just want to appeal to him to please take more interest in the plight of pensioners and workers in the state. This is just an exercise in futility.
Are you saying governance has stopped in the state?
Governance has stopped a long time ago. And there are a lot of workers, there are a lot of pensioners who cannot pay their money. And there is no way you could convince anybody that this is a venture that is reasonable. Yes, he has every right as a Nigerian to seek for elective votes at any particular level. But this one is just taking us on a comedy trip. Which will have
no, as that caller said, it's comedian.
It should just be more proactive and.
I don't know what his intentions.
I don't know what, apart from his intentions, I don't know what Fayose will put on the table to tell Nigerians that he's been able to do. That at least as governor, I did this. Maybe he will tell Nigerians, oh, I insulted this, I am the most controversial person. I don't know.
But you see, when you keep talking about the salary, there are so many other governors.
He's not the only person. Some other governors too are also aspiring.
Some are even owing more than him. So that's the thing. It's a big problem.
Secessionist aspiration of the indigenous people of Biafra is like a pipe dream. It started with the fanfare and almost unparalleled enthusiasm, but wilted in the face of overwhelming force. The military launched Operation Python Dance 2, declared the movement a militant terrorist organization, and then 5 Southeast governors banned its activities. In less than 3 days, the Biafran rallies evaporated. But rather than throw the baby away with the bathwater, Southeast governors have resolved to rehabilitate and reintegrate members of the outlawed group. Will this address the agitation? Babajide, you know, from the fallout of yesterday, our people, you know, when it comes to this IPOP thing, our brothers from the Southeast very emotional about it.
Some of our brothers.
Yes, very emotional. People that you don't even... Yes. Now, if the governors are saying that, I think they've identified that basically the people following Nnamdi Kanu are people that are not employed.
If you listen sometime last week, I proposed that they should take a new message to those people. Now that Nnamdi Kanu has been clobbered and sent scampering for safety and is hiding somewhere, that this is the time to now, the ideology that he represents, this is the time for the government to come up with a counter ideology and begin to talk to the army of Biafra supporters. They should now let them
that
realize
he has been washed.
This is there's even no clear-cut goal.
Yes,
And how to realize that goal. It's not clear-cut. Even the geographical base of Biafra is not clear
to him.
So he's adding some states,
Benue
south people who will never agree to be part of Biafra, adding them to the Biafra map. So at that rate, they should be able to tell the people that, look, this guy at best has been a joker. You know, he's taking people for a ride. Now, let us forget all that he has been preaching about. Let's put it behind us and believe that we can actually be what we want to become in a Nigeria, in a happy Nigeria. This is the message that I demanded that government should go out there and preach to the hundreds of thousands of Biafra sympathizers. Because look, don't just leave this, leave everything in a state of flux. This guy is nowhere to be found. I just read as we were coming in that his lawyer sued Burate, the job army staff, and
to produce him.
That
they should give the cops, even if he's alive.
We know that all of this is brinksmanship, you know, meant to come to a conclusion at the end of the day. There is a goal that they are targeting. But those guys who are jobless, those artisans who were not born at the time when we went to war, who have not the faintest idea of what transpired during the Civil War, who do not know that so many people died during the Civil War, more than 1 million people from the Southeast died. This is the time to begin to tell them, because the average Nigerian doesn't even have a good grasp of his country's history. So this is the time to tell them that, look, this is a waste of time. Forget about this, and there is hope for you. You offer hope to them by empowering them. They promise to empower these people, because the governors have been asleep all the while. It was when this thing degenerated that we now saw them proscribing.
They were even obnobbing
activities.
I think it was only governor of
Anambra.
No, not Anambra.
Abia.
No, this towards Ebonyi. There was some. Most other governors in the southeast were obnobbing with Kanu. But you will see that he wasn't supporting anything like secessionist agitation and all that.
Not that they were really hobnobbing with him. They were reluctant to criticize
because
activities, because of the
followers
backlash.
But when we were calling him to meeting, and
because I remember the first time we interviewed the Abia governor live on TVC, he was condemning Canada. That was early last year. Was condemning his activities. So some of them were just scared to openly confront this because of the political
most of them, they are first-time governors. And
even some of the people who complied with the so-called sitting protest, they said they did it for fear of their shops being looted and destroyed. About your last word on this?
I think the governor should also not just merely pay lip service to engaging the ideal youths that are the immediate constituency of Kano. They should take a step further by making sure that their attentions, they are highly engaged and giving skills, improve a lot of things, not the 5 states in the southeast, so that Kano will not have idle youths to follow him blindly, without necessarily taking them to a particular, because he has no destination in mind that he's taking them.
You want to sign off?
My final take will be that maybe micro schemes or whatever way you can engage
them, small-scale businesses.
I think since people from that section of the country love small business, they should just let these people be happy. There won't be agitation. Every part of Nigeria is marginalized.
Let us keep them busy.
My overriding wish is that Kano should come out of hiding. This joke is being taken too far by saying that you are going to sue the. I don't understand what the lawyer is. You can't tell me that in one breath that he gave you the mandate to challenge the prescription, and then you are coming back to tell us that you don't know where he is. Yeah, so how did he give you the brief? You know, now you are saying to challenge the prescription. Yes, now you are saying that you are suing the chief of because you people don't want to bring him before the judge on the 12th of October. Because everyone knows that if he's taken before the judge.
Thank you, gentlemen. Tunde Abaton, I want to thank you for coming on the program. Adekunle Yusuf, thank you for coming, and Babajide, thank you for always being there. And that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight on DSTV 418, GoTV 45, and all on the other platforms as you can see on the screen. You can get us on YouTube too, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzuba. See you tomorrow.